Welcome back, Kings fans. I am Jesse Cohen. She is Carrlyn Bathe, and this is Tape to Tape. How are you doing today, Carrlyn?
I'm doing well, Jesse. How you doing today?
I'm all right. I saw a lot of people from a lot of places thanking Kings fans, thanking everybody for another year. But as far as I'm concerned, Carrlyn, the year is not quite yet finished. We've got Ontario rain games left on the schedule.
Yeah, it's only May. My gosh, the
That's
year's
right.
totally
Yeah.
not finished. No, we do still have rain
Yeah.
games. Yes, Jesse.
Yeah. So once the Rain have played their last two regular season games and then played their postseason tournament, then I'll start thanking everybody. But the Kings season is done.
Mm.
And with it came the postseason awards, which I got to vote on, but I never asked you if you got to vote on them.
I did. Yes, I did. It's always a fun time too, because it's so strange. You don't get to talk to anyone about it. So
Right.
you're kind of left going like, are we making the right choices here? But mine fell in line with most of the picks that were ended up awarded to the players.
Yeah, it was that kind of year where the obvious choices sort of presented themselves. We're going to start with the unsung hero, which I am jokingly in the past have called the Trevor Lewis Award, but I think we're going to drop the Lewis and just call it the Trevor Award because now Trevor Moore has picked it up in his first full season with the LA Kings, and I voted for Moore, and I thought, or wait, no. Did I vote for Moore? I guess unsung hero was voted on by the team. That's right. That's what I.
If you were a player, you would have.
Meant to say. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So well deserving for Trevor Moore. I thought one of the real bright spots of this season.
Absolutely. And he's just somebody that I think surprised a lot of people. I don't know if he surprised himself. He probably always knew he could play that way and put up those kind of points. But I think he surprised a lot of people that, maybe weren't expecting much or weren't putting a huge expectation on him, I should say. And it was just really nice to see him thrive this season for sure.
Mm-hmm. So congrats to Trevor Moore, unsung hero. Next up, we have a defensive player. And no surprise there. I think Drew Doughty won that award. And that one I did get to vote on. And yes. I voted for Drew Doughty.
I voted for Anze Kopitar only because you can, vote for somebody who also happens to be a forward. And I think also a goaltender as well. Jesse, correct me if I'm wrong, but I voted for Anze thinking that he was such a great two-way player. But Drew Doughty in my mind is obviously a great defensive player, no doubt. But yeah, that was who I went for there.
No, I'm still here. I'm still here.
Right.
We're here.
Sorry, you disappeared off my screen.
Oh, no. No, I'm here. I did vote for Drew on this one. So, yeah, right there with you. Agree with that. My goodness, what a season for him.
Mm-hmm. And I'd be curious to know if he was even aware of the award going to Matt Roy last year and if that bothered him at all. Obviously, a guy with a lot of pride in his game. But, again, huge season for Drew Doughty, so congrats to him on defensive player and outstanding defenseman, excuse me. Next up, the captain captured a trio of awards. So Anze Kopitar being named most inspirational player.
Yeah, so this was a player chosen award, and I mean, I can only imagine how much he inspires that team. It seems like when nights were not going right for anybody, Anze seemed to be like the one that maybe they could all still lean on. That's just me projecting, but what we saw from him on the ice, I can just only imagine, like I said, how inspirational he probably was this season.
Yeah, I mean, he does it all, right?
Yeah.
Top power play unit, top penalty kill, top minutes amongst forwards, at 5-on-5, 1,000th career point. Where's the captaincy, he's everything to this franchise. So well-deserved for Anze Kopitar. But that was, again, just one of 3 awards that Anze Kopitar won. He also, I'm delaying, so the second one, because I've forgotten now the second in the order of 3 that, there we go, the most popular player, which no surprise there, again.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, you mentioned him being the captain. I mean, that 1,000th point, the whole team was just rallying around him. He had some great moments this season, and no doubt, most popular player makes a lot of sense for Anze.
Yeah, and the third award was actually one that I was considering voting for Doughty on to give Doughty a sweep of awards that he was eligible for, and that's MVP. But ultimately, I did vote for Anze Kopitar. Like I said, top penalty kill, top power play, #1 center, the captain, et cetera. It leads the team in scoring for the 13th season in a row, which is pretty amazing when you realize that Gordie Howe's the only other player to lead his team in scoring more than Anze Kopitar.
And he's getting close to him too, Jesse. So this is something that I think is just so warranted for him. I voted for him for MVP as well. This was one of the media awards that we could all have a say in, and it just seemed like a no-brainer for me as well.
Mm-hmm. And that brings us to the last player who I have really become a huge fan of this year. I'm not ashamed to admit it. That's best newcomer, and it goes to Mikey Anderson.
Do you think this has something to do with him playing with Drew Doughty this season and how we got to maybe see Mikey Anderson's game sparkle a little bit more? I did vote for him as well for best newcomer because I totally agree with you there, Jess.
It has everything to do with it. I was fully expecting Oli Mata to spend the season or most of the season with Drew Doughty, and if not him, then Tobias Bjornfoot, based on previous comments made by Drew Doughty. But Mikey Anderson came in and was among the leaders, if not the leader, in minutes played by a rookie. He and Doughty were a very effective defensive top pair, and Drew Doughty himself had a number of nice things to say about Mikey Anderson, even this morning in the exit interviews.
And when you talk about the team needing to use this cap room to bring some other players in, is that a situation where you'd like to bring somebody in to play with you? Is it to add among the forwards? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't want someone. I like playing with Mikey Anderson. I love playing with Mikey Anderson. We've developed quite the partnership. I mean, I don't think you need to bring anyone in to play with me. I don't know if you necessarily need to bring anyone on defense. I think our defense is solid. I really like where we're at. I like our young guys. I like our middle of the pack veteran guys. Obviously we got to bring guys in, and I don't know what positions I'd have. That's not my job to make that decision. So you guys can ask Blakey that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And that was Drew Doughty. That wasn't all he had to say about Mikey Anderson. And this wasn't the first time he's said things like these about Mikey Anderson. Drew Doughty went back and had more to say about his defensive partner this year.
Drew, as you progressed playing with Mikey, I'm wondering, was there a point in the year, maybe towards the end, where you started to see him really figure out how to play in this league and kind of go from being that rookie to maybe, just, I don't know what the word is, but not a veteran, but just kind of figure out how to play in the NHL?
Well, the one thing with Mikey is this guy's like already talking in our dressing room at intermissions and stuff like that. And he's already one of the more vocal, probably one of the top 3 vocal guys on our team already. And to say that about a young guy like that, that's basically unheard of. Mikey's a great pro already, and he's many years above what his age actually is. And, at first we kind of clicked right away going together. And then obviously there's some things that we need to work on together, and communication and positioning and stuff like that. And then once we got that, I thought we were buzzing. I know we were friggin' -10 in the last 10 or whatever, but it wasn't due to how we were playing. We were playing good hockey together. We were playing sound defensively, making great breakout plays. And the only thing I got to help Mike with is make sure when he's eating that puck, he doesn't smack his face off the glass. So we're going to work on that this summer.
Drew Doughty there obviously having a lot to say. We appreciate it as always. And Carrlyn, I actually agree with Drew Doughty. I don't think the blue line needs a ton of work. I know that it is the popular theory that they need a top left-handed, dynamic, under 25 offensive-minded defenseman. But I actually like the blue line. I like the goaltending. I think the back end for this Kings team is competent, if not very good. And those young players are only going to get better. But the blue line is not the only part of putting together a defensive game. You also have to have goaltending. And we had a chance to talk to Cal Peterson this morning for the exit interviews as well.
Hey, Cal. You signed a 3-year deal 2 years ago with escalating amounts leading into next season. I'm curious if you feel like next year is the year that you take the mantle as the number 1 goalie.
I mean, I think that's the goal. I think every single game that I play, I'm hoping to build confidence in the guys around me, with the coaching staff too, having me in there. And I think it's just every day trying to be the best. And obviously coming to the NHL, I want to be a number one goalie. I want to be the guy to win games. So that's definitely the goal.
That was Cal Peterson, and that was a question I've been dying to ask him for a while now, and a point that I'm fond of making. But Carrlyn, any final thoughts about this morning's exit interviews before we bring in Jim Fox in the next segment?
What a great, confident answer from both of them in both different aspects. Drew Doughty talking about the defense and Cal talking about himself. That's the confidence you want to see. Was that the answer that you were hoping for, Jesse?
Sure. I mean, whatever you like is good for me. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Jim Fox to talk about those LA Kings.
Velardi to Carter now. And Carter. Tic-tac-toe, Velardi. That shot altered by an Avalanche stick. They score!
Why does this keep happening? Sorry about that. I got a little bit of technical difficulties on my end. Joining us now, Jim Fox. How are you doing today, Jim?
Doing great, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
So another season in the books, Jim, and we got our first round of exit interviews out of the way now. I'll ask you the same question I just asked Carrlyn, which is anything leap out to you immediately following those exit interviews?
Yeah, the first thing that leaps out to me is that I didn't see them.
Oh, I thought I heard you this morning.
Were you already golfing, Foxy? What were you doing?
No, it is honestly a decompressed day for me. Certainly no travel this year, but it's just kind of a traditional thing that happens for me normally. That the day after, came back last night, had a glass of champagne with Alex and Carrlyn and Susie, and that was about it. And then today is just kind of veg out and not do anything and not try to think about anything and just try to decompress from what happened for the season. So I obviously, like most of the media members, I do have the opportunity to go back and listen to them. But I took care of myself today.
All right. Well, shame on me for asking you a question I didn't know the answer to, Jim. So I'll ask you one that I think I do know the answer to. Drew Doughty said in his exit interview this morning that he felt the Kings needed to make improvements to the roster, but added that he didn't think it needed to be to the blue line and reiterated once again his desire to continue playing with Mikey Anderson. So I'll ask you where you think the Kings need to make the biggest improvement on this roster.
I think the biggest improvement on the roster needs to be a goal scorer. And if it doesn't come from the prospects immediately, which it might not, then that's what I think. To me, it was just certainly an offensive forward, an offensive-minded forward, hopefully a finisher, hopefully a goal scorer. But the first thing that came to mind, and it is kind of a recency bias issue, Nathan MacKinnon goes out of the lineup for Colorado, top 3 player in the league, and they don't miss a beat. And what was going through my mind was, what happens if Andre Kopitar gets out of the lineup? Who replaces him? Who steps up? Colorado has some depth there. I'm not saying, the moves the Kings will make this summer will make us the Colorado Avalanche. It's not going to happen that quickly. But I would say that's the one pressing need to me that stands out. And again, I think the prospect that has those capabilities is Kaliev. But, how ready he is, that's a whole thing. And I think Arthur is the type of player, this is my opinion, I haven't seen him play this year, other than the one game for the Kings, is that he needs to be put in a special, very unique spot. He needs people around him to make him better and make him be the shooter. And I'm reading reports and I'm hearing from people about how he's a great passer down in Ontario. You know what? Right now, I don't care if he makes another pass in his life. I need him to come and see what I see in practice, and that is shoot the puck. That's what I need from him. Now, NHL game compared to junior, there's going to be differences. He's going to have a difficult time finding openings and how to get open, all those things. But internally, we mentioned it post-game after the last game. Internally, the Kings have to improve, meaning players already on the roster have to improve, get better, get stronger. They're young as a group, so they need to mature a little bit and get into the man body. And man strength, if that's what everyone's calling it. And at the same time, they do need help from the outside.
What were the biggest positives for you from this season? Obviously, we can point to all the negatives and disappointing moments, but what were the areas that you felt the team improved on?
The area of improvement for me was certainly the power play for half the season, and probably a little bit longer than half, just a touch more. Again, historically, Todd McClellan, when he coaches teams, their power plays are very strong, whether he's an assistant coach or a head coach. And I think that's just part of what he brings. Again, I think what happened, as we were just talking about the Kopitar situation or what the Kings need, and when someone goes dry, then there's just not enough depth right now to make it happen. And when the power play went away, the season went away. That was it for me. The power play went dry and the season, it's over. But I thought the first half, again, the entries into the zone, as good as any team, setting up for whatever reason, and it happens. I think I can certainly tell you what happened. My job as an analyst is to tell you why. But the shot mentality was there earlier in the year, and it went away. And how that dries up and how that goes away and how your confidence and where you think the openings are change from one part of a season to the other. But I did think that was an improvement. And again, I know that the numbers were not good at the end. Obviously, I know. I watched it. But that was an improvement over past. Even the current ranking as they end the season was better than the past. I thought that they were doing a better job as far as a transition game, which is the key to up-tempo hockey, to the Colorado Avalanche, to the Vegas Golden Knights, to the Edmonton Oilers, to the Toronto Maple Leafs, to the teams, Carolina, how they headman the puck and they transition. Create a turnover, go the other way quickly. I thought that was better. Still a long way to go. The play of young defensemen. I mean, it's encouraging. It's very encouraging to see. And I think two different types of defensemen who probably will come a little bit closer as they mature in their styles, and that is Bjornfoot and Anderson. I think Bjornfoot's a better skater, more active. Mikey seems to have a mind for shutting things down. He wants to get more offense into his game, and Toby wants to get more strength and defense into his game. So I think they will come together a little bit more as they mature. That stands out to me as the biggest positive. Youth who logged a lot of ice time, who in one-on-one situations this year were beat, but in the concept of the team and how they fit in, I think they did very well.
Foxy, going back to some of the offense that was missing, right? You can't have all your offense be produced on a power play. I'm going to walk you through a weird question here. Just bear with me. So having a guy like Anze Kopitar produce as many points as he does and lead the team in scoring, is that something that the younger players maybe will not hold back their own game, but you as a player, you were a rookie at one time. Do you kind of sit back and watch and wait your turn to also showcase your offensive prowess? Is that something that maybe even before an Arthur Kaliev comes up, are we going to see more forwards that are young and on the team currently that we saw this season kind of open up and roar, if you will? Does that make sense?
Well, I think the common thought process is that younger players defer to a player like Anze, meaning when they get on the ice, they're looking for him, looking to get him the puck, not necessarily playing their game because they're so worried about getting the puck to the top dog.
Right.
And again, it doesn't fit because Anze's not a shooter. So, if you want him to be the finisher and, you're always going to get the puck to him and, okay, he wants the puck. He will get the puck. He'll lug the puck, but you don't have to force it. But I think that does happen. And we saw very interesting what happened to Gabe Velardi this year. Real struggles with the confidence factor.
Right.
But when I had my read on him, and we did our role, skill, intangible when he came up last year, at the beginning of this year, the intangible I put was untapped confidence.
Right.
I think and this probably goes to what your question you was asking. Season's over now, so I can actually say it. Because I'm just so superstitious, I didn't want to say it at the time.
For sure.
if Anze Kopitar goes down with an injury, I think Gabe Velardi becomes more confident because he is the top dog now. And I think it grows exponentially. We saw him hit the lows, which he'll work on. He will work on that. He'll talk to people. He'll talk to coaches. He'll talk to players. He'll work on making sure that low is not as low as it went. But I do still think in his, just by his personality, I think he has a confidence there, which you need to be the top dog.
Yeah, you saw a lot in him all season long. I loved your analysis on his growth.
By the time the Kings, I believe, are contenders again, Anze Kopitar will not be your number one centerman. So someone's going to have to take that torch.
Jim, I want to ask you another question about confidence, and it sort of applies to the team as a whole. One of the other things Drew Doughty said this morning was that Mikey Anderson was one of the 3 most vocal players in the locker room during intermissions. And he thought that was outstanding for a rookie to be that kind of a player. I'm curious if you would see that more as a positive, that Mikey Anderson has that confidence to take that role, or a negative that it's taking a rookie to fill that role.
Well, I think you have, in my opinion, the only other veteran that has been a king is Drew Doughty. Now you have Walker and you have Roy, who've been around. You have Big Mac, who's been around. But, Mata comes from the outside, kind of. So that doesn't surprise me. No, it doesn't. If Mikey Anderson walked into a locker room of Drew Doughty, Willie Mitchell, Rob Scuderi, Matt Green, and was the most vocal, then I'd be going, whoa, geez, what's going on here?
Right.
But I think it doesn't bother me at all. And I will go back just to the thing I said the first day I met Mikey Anderson. It was the most impressive first impression I have ever received from any hockey player I've ever dealt with.
Yeah, it's, I used to joke about Jack Campbell that if you said he was a great guy, you'd turn around and there'd be a line of people waiting to tell you how great he was. And the same thing applies to Mikey Anderson, right? You mention his leadership abilities and people start queuing up to tell you how he's going to wear a letter and what an impressive player he is. Carrlyn, anything left for Jim before we let him go today?
Foxy, what are you going to do during your summer? What's like the big plans for you?
Well, we have a lot of things to take care of. I will be working NHL radio, probably through the Western Conference Final at least.
Good for you.
Used to call it the Western Conference Final, through the semifinal this year. Perhaps getting some work in the final. That'll be determined later. So I will start to travel a little bit, which we haven't done in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a little bit weird. I'm not necessarily looking forward to that.
Right.
As far as the travel goes. We do have, my wine label, Patiné. I usually get more involved in the summertime with planning and doing tasting events, which probably will start up again, fairly soon with, fully vaccinated people in groups of, certain controlled areas and things of that sort, outdoors. So we'll do that. We usually take a pretty extended long trip to the desert. So it is Susie's birthday this year, and it is our 40th wedding anniversary this year.
Wow.
So we will be having a get together. And then, as you know, my mom passed away earlier this season. So we will have a chance to probably in late August, early September, have a chance to go back to Canada and, get together with a family finally, because I know a lot of families who had that happen to them during COVID, you just don't have the opportunity to get together. So we hope that the travel restrictions to Canada will be lifted by then, and we'll get a chance to celebrate my mom's life as a family. So it's kind of busy when you think about it, and just keep my eye on the Kings. I on our Fox and Faust podcast, I did mention the other day, I do have a kind of a pit in my stomach. I do expect something. And Jesse and I, we've been talking, Carlyn, we've been talking. It's, the Kings are going to make a move. It's just the timing. And move could be a trade. It could be a free agent acquisition. It could be both. It could be one this year, one next year. It could be a whole bunch of different things. But I'll stay closer than normal, because I think there's going to be some news. Just have that feeling. I have not talked to Rob Blake about it. I have not talked to Luc Robitaille about it. I have not. This is just a feeling I have. So a lot of news hopefully coming up.
Well, Jim, we want to thank you for joining us, and we know that Kings fans everywhere offer you their thoughts and condolences to your mom, and of course, we wish you best of luck on the ice and on the vine this summer. Thanks very much, Jim.
My pleasure. Thanks very much. And I'm just going to go watch those exit interviews right now. So
sorry about that.
Thanks, Foxy.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that was Jim Fox. And when it comes to the Kings, there are a few figures as loved as Jim Fox. And when it comes to a starting lineup, there are a few things as loved as the starter from Jack Black, loaded with the superior skincare that the pros love. LA Kings fans can get the starter for just $10, shipping included. Available exclusively at getjackblack.com with the code TEAMJB. The starter has 4 of Jack Black's best-selling skincare and shave products, plus Carrlyn Plus, a full-size intense therapy lip balm, SPF 25 in natural mint. Here's to the winning combination of the LA Kings and the starter from Jack Black. $10 plus free shipping available at getjackblack.com with the code TEAMJB while supplies last. And Carrlyn, as always, follow the LA Kings on social media after this show for a chance to be one of 10 lucky fans to win a Clean Team gift set from Jack Black.
It's easy.
So
That's easy.
follow the Kings on social
media.
media.
No-brainer. My gosh.
That's right. Now, huge thanks to Jim Fox. It's always a double-edged sword, though, because I never want to stop talking to Jim Fox once
Never. I have so many questions, and
exactly.
He's so knowledgeable about this team. Jesse, he lives and breathes the Kings, was a King, has just seen so many different stages of this team, has been a broadcaster now for, gosh, Jesse, is he coming up on 30 years? I meant to ask him that.
That sounds right.
Yeah, like I just love and adore his insight. He's someone I look to as a mentor too. It's just, he's the first person I go to if I'm having trouble with something or need to figure out a different way to ask a question, or this whole Zoom thing was new for everybody, yet somehow I'm defaulting to Foxy for his like veteran leadership of like, help me through this, hold my hand. I adore him. I never want to stop talking to him, Jesse, and I know Kings fans would just love to listen to him all day long. That's why he has a podcast, Fox and South.
That's right.
Oh, listen to it.
There are a number of conversations I have with media members, organization members, et cetera, that I wish I could tape and share with people. And Jim is one of those where, we'll bump into each other on the concourse, find each other, in the broadcast booths, and have, I'll pitch him my wacky ideas. And to his credit, I think he's probably the person with the most patience and the most time for my wacky ideas. So I always love that. But apologies to him I could have sworn I heard him ask a question this morning on the morning interviews, but I guess not. Shame, like I said, shame on me. But that is not the only news in Kingsland, Carrlyn. The international teams have begun naming players to their rosters for the World Championships coming up, and a number of Kings represented there. We've got Team USA showing right now, and as you can see, Trevor Moore, Christian Wolanin, not Matt Roy, I'm sorry, and Cal Peterson. Matt Roy is also.
Yeah. There's 4 of them. Yeah, you got it.
That's right. All being named to the U.S. men's national team for 2021. Adrian Kempe will be playing for Team Sweden, or at least named to the roster to begin with, and Jared Anderson-Dole and Gabriel Velardi named to Team Canada. So a number of Kings representing their countries at these tournaments.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice for them.
At
this tournament, at Men's Worlds. What's cool too is joining Team USA are 2 members of the Kings organization staff.
Right.
There's Dana Bryson and John Gomez. So Dana will be doing equipment management over in Latvia, and then John Gomez will be handling media relations too. So that's just kind of nice that those 4 guys that are representing Team USA also get to bring those 2 guys over with them. That's got to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and obviously it is a weird year for it. Mikey Anderson mentioned that he declined the invitation because he wants to go hug his mom.
Yeah.
We certainly understand that. But given that it's a weird year, given that the starting rosters are always made up of players that didn't make the playoffs, I think it's great that a number of young Kings players are going to go get this experience and have been recognized for being solid contributors on the ice.
Yeah, it's got to be a badge of honor for them to get the call and then know that they're going to go represent their country. That's just something that, I mean, maybe you dream of it, but it doesn't become that reality until you hear it. So for them, I'm sure they're ecstatic. And I love how you phrased that. He declined to go because he wants to hug his mom. For anybody that doesn't know where that came from, because you don't have your finger on the pulse like Jesse 100% does. Lisa Dillman had asked about, Mikey Anderson, and I think someone had asked about him, or he mentioned getting a call, and then he did decline. But she had asked, what's the first thing you're going to do when you return to Roseville? And he said, hug his mom. So he didn't decline because he wanted to hug his mom.
Two stories together there.
Yeah, I loved it, and I picked up on it. But I was like, what if there's somebody who's writing down, taking notes, about to write their own article? And they're like, decline because he needed to hug his mom. Yes and no, but yes. No. And it was a really sweet moment, Jesse, that made me almost tear up when I heard it.
And another shame on me, Sean Walker also named a Team Canada. I knew I was forgetting somebody.
There you go.
That's a lot of players, and a lot more players that could have, if things had shaken out differently. So as Jim said, and as a number of different people have said, a lot of interesting things going to happen this summer, whether it's the Ontario Reign playoff push, the Seattle expansion draft, Kings players at the World Championships, the draft, free agency, trades. Rob Blake has a lot on his plate this summer. It feels like the last 2 or 3 years have been building towards this summer. Yeah. And I really do feel like that Seattle expansion draft is going to be the dam that breaks, and we'll start seeing some interesting moves, not just from the Kings, but across the league. So Kings fans, keep paying attention. Everybody's saying thank you and goodbye for the summer, but it's really not the end of the year. But Carrlyn, thanks for joining me on Tape to Tape every time. Thanks for the long conversations in the parking lot again.
Yes, we had one, our first one the other day.
That's right.
Oh, it was so good. I missed those, Jesse. Thank you.
Had to get in a fight with Dennis Bernstein to traumatize you first, but
I was like, whoa. No, good. We love a good heated walk and talk, and it was a great moment. Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, thank you for joining me. Thanks, Kings fans, for watching us. Like I said, stay tuned. Subscribe to all the Kings Men. Check out the LA Kings Insider. Keep checking Carrlyn's social media, and there'll be tons more Kings news. I have to feel that was not a good sentence. There will be more Kings news, I feel, coming up. That's
there
what
it
I
is.
wanted to say.
Yep.
So thanks for watching, everybody.
We'll just rewind it, and you can do it again, right?
There we
Thanks,
go.
everybody.
We'll fix it in post.
Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated, yeah. Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated, we the ones, yeah. We the ones, we the ones, yeah. We the ones, yeah. Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated.